This week on Theme Park Workshop, we're talking Hollywood studios from the worst to the best. And let me just tell you, we are going to have some hot takes.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
Hot chocolate, here we go. Here we've only got one rule. Our takes are never, ever cool. Keep it cooking in the pot. Soon you got hot chocolate.
Yeah.
So the Polar Express experience is better than any attraction at Disney Hollywood Studios.
No.
SeaWorld's the...
The snowman cometh.
Welcome back, everyone, to Theme Park Workshop, the podcast. I'm back this week. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Adam Johnson.
This is a normal episode. This is also going to be one of the few episodes where you can't just do the nice little snippy snip thing where you cut bits of our audio if they overlap, if we accidentally jump over each other, because we're recording in the same place.
6 inches apart.
No, 6 feet. That's the
oh, I know what the reference is with the whole social distance. But we are. If I took a ruler right now, it wouldn't. The ruler would not. It would be too long for the distance that we have between us right now.
You're not wrong. Anyways, welcome back to the show. This week we have a interesting show for you. We're actually going to be talking about the ranking of our Hollywood Studios attractions from worst to best, and I can assure you, both Adam and I have a nice dollop of hot takes.
And I would say my hot takes are not intentionally hot. They were just put in the microwave perhaps a little too long. And it's like, well, it's inoffensive, I think, when you get down to the brass tacks. I'm not going to be like, oh, your take, it's too spicy, it's too cold, it's too normie.
It's like you get burnt on your tongue after the first bite, but then as you take your second bite, you realize the center of it is still completely cold, and you wonder why you just burnt your tongue.
Right, so on the outside it feels hot, but on the inside, it's personal. It is true.
So these are our microwave takes.
Brought to you by Theme Park Workshop. Although, Jonathan, I have to ask, we've had some very focused episodes. Icebreaker, Iron Gwazi, AJ Dana, Halloween Horror Nights. Why are we talking about the rankings of Hollywood studios?
Well, we were out of ideas for this week.
There was not much news. I mean, there's the Reedy Creek stuff, which is very, I don't want to say spicy, that's not the right word, but it's very dramatic, and I think if we were going to talk about that, we'd want to have more research and be very, very prepared for that show, because there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of dimensions to it, that we want to make sure we would get it right.
Yeah, and there are other people covering it so much better than we ever could who
probably
have that experience. And everybody thinks, hey, I'm an expert on Reedy Creek. We are not that. We do not claim to be that. So one other thing we wanted to mention was that last week's episode was actually our most successful episode of all time as far as reaching 100 views so quickly. So thank you for all the support. That was really all on Adam and his coordination and planning of that. So you want to talk about what went into that briefly? Or?
Sure. The behind the scenes, I guess. Well, it's not only just a milestone. It wasn't just the first one to reach 100 in a certain time period. It's right now the most listened to episode, beating our Poseidon's Fury episode, which I love that one took off.
Yes, Poseidon's Fury fandom, rise up.
Amen. Do they say amen in Greek mythology? I'm not sure.
I mean, it's in the Bible, isn't it? And the Bible's in Greek?
But is it Greek mythology? Is that a solely Judeo-Christian thing?
I don't know.
Sure. Anyway, just want to say thank you for listening to that and getting it to its milestone in less than a week. In less than a week, it's 130 podcast apps and YouTube combined. I think it might even be more than 130, but I'm going to be safe and say 130, probably 140 right now. Yeah, which I mean, I'm sure some of you are hearing that, like, you only got 140 views, and we're like, yeah, we got 140 views!
Yeah, for us, that's insane numbers. So thank you for continuing to listen every week and tuning in just to hear us chat about all things theme parks.
Yeah, and I hope to have Kelly, Bella, and Nicole on the show again soon.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive into our main beef this week, which is with Hollywood Studios. We have some interesting attractions that we need to talk about. You know, Hollywood Studios has been known as I think a mixed bag is probably the best word. You have some of the best attractions in all of Walt Disney World, combined with some of the most deplorable abominations of rubbish imaginable, mangled up and tangled up knots.
What? No, it's not that. No, okay, so I gotta stand. I've seen a lot of vlogs. I've seen a lot of discourse about Hollywood Studios, and in fact, I was echoing this trumpeting of hate, of hot takes, saying, "Oh, it's just a half-day park. Oh, it's got the worst. There's hardly anything there." I used to beat that drum, and I will no longer. I will not stand for it. You might be like, I have to wait 90 minutes. Well, you're gonna wait 90 minutes for everything, and you don't have to. You can just go see a show. You can go get some pizza rizzo. You can go to the Backlot Express, which is highly underrated. I will say that right now. I will speak my brother's mind, and I think I agree with him. Backlot Express is, fantastic.
You can buy a Will Smith genie.
Can you? I know you could buy a What If shirt. Marvel's What If.
Oh, yeah.
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 But no, I think overall that it is a fun park. It is a nice park. Maybe the layout is a bit too confusing for my taste. Not as easy as like Magic Kingdom or the Universal Parks or even Busch Gardens. But, what's there, like, a lot of rewritable stuff.
Absolutely.
A lot of rewatchable stuff. And, I don't know, when people are like, this park doesn't have enough, it's not worth it. I did a day ticket one day, and it was totally worth it.
Absolutely. Well, no, I was saying that's the reputation that Hollywood Studios.
Oh, the reputation. I thought you were giving your opinion.
No, that was not my opinion.
That was way more heated than it should have been.
That was me just stating the general opinion. I was going to say Hollywood Studios was my favorite park to visit when I had an annual pass. I did recently go on a one-day ticket that I had from Rise of the Resistance when it used to break down all the time. Disney, every time if you got a boarding group and didn't get served for the day, you got a free one-day ticket. And so after my annual pass expired, I had like 3 of those just stacked up. But yeah, so Hollywood Studios has always been, I think, my favorite just for the sheer quality of the attractions. I don't think any other Disney park has the same number of attractions that I just feel compelled to go ride. On the other hand, it is thematically, not the most cohesive of the Disney parks, to say the least. But it was certainly my favorite to visit just because the rides are just so fun. And that still is my favorite thing about the theme parks. I mean, the environments are cool and Easter's pleasant and every St. Fizzin's Day you eat a fizz pheasant. But at the end of the day, rides are the only thing that theme parks, provide in quantity that you could not find anywhere else. You can find nice environments elsewhere, you can find good food elsewhere. Rides are really what set theme parks apart in my eyes, but that might not be true for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, your local mall can have a VR roller coaster simulator, but I look at that and it says it's only $15. That is technically cheaper than a theme park ride. I don't trust it.
Did you see that video that was going around on Twitter of one of the people in the virtual reality things at the mall that fell over while they were riding it?
Yeah, it spun. It hit a stanchion, and the whole thing went down. It wasn't spaced out.
No. All right, so let's start at the bottom of the barrel. I know we have different numbers of attractions based off things we've experienced. So my bottom is number 17, which is Voyage of the Little Mermaid.
And that would be my number 15 as well.
It's currently closed. We've talked about this on our attractions we avoid at all costs, so we won't reiterate too much of that here, but this is just not good. It's ill-conceived. It's questionably paced. It reuses basically just animation from the movie for far too much of it. There's rain, there's lasers, there's one live actor, there's a cool Ursula puppet. it's baffling in every sense of the word as to why it exists. Well, it's not baffling why it exists. It exists for money. But it was so clearly a temporary installation that became permanent. And I think that just makes it the worst attraction in Hollywood studios.
Yeah, I think it is the fact that it was built to be temporary, which is fine. That's whatever. You know, temporary shows happen all the time. Universal just got a new Streetmosphere thing, and those are usually kind of like, is that permanent? Is it not? I don't think it's ever on the map.
Yeah.
So, you know, these things happen, and it's not a bad thing that they do happen. And like watching as a temporary attraction, I feel bad that it never got the plus up that it should have gotten when it was made permanent, because the craft and the, you know, the performances, like the things that people put, that the crew puts into it, like obviously they care about the show.
Yeah.
With the felt puppetry and stuff like that. It's just, all in all, it doesn't come off. And I feel like we might be beating a dead horse, not because we've talked about it before, but the iteration that we're talking about is not there right now.
Right.
You know, Finding Nemo also closed, and now it's getting a redux. And it sounds like, because I was trying to confirm, is it closed, is it not? And the website says it's temporarily closed, but then some people say that it's permanently closed. And then I read another thing that said it was permanently closed, the original version, but in 2022 we're getting a remastered, updated version. So maybe after, 25 years, it's finally getting the thing it should have gotten 3 years in?
Hopefully, man. I should mention that neither of us have seen Disney Junior play and dance or live on stage or whatever they're calling it this week. So we have no frame of reference. As much as Adam and I would love to sit in on a performance of Disney Junior and sing along with the children, we might be escorted out of the park if we did such a thing. So we have not experienced it.
I mean, the Diz has been able to go in and film and, you know, have a rollicking good time on the sticky floors.
All right, yeah, so number 16 for me is what I like to call Slinky Dog Trash. This is a disastrous attraction in every sense. It is a roller coaster that is actively mediocre, and it was so cheaply put together. You had things like the tails falling off. You got the fact that the layout was shortened when they cut the budget for Toy Story Land. You got the fact that it's just nearly completely forceless, and it's just an abomination of an attraction. I think this one is so low for me just because of the potential it had and how people have so wonderfully embraced this attraction that so fell short of its potential. Like, you look at Disney Genie Plus, the first thing gone for the day is Slinky Dog Dash. The line is mostly outdoors, not properly air conditioned. The attraction itself is so ridiculously short and so boring of a layout. I cannot give this attraction any points.
I disagree. It is higher on my list, and frankly, I cannot fathom how you hate it so much. But I'll get to my opinions later. What's your next one?
My next one is Vacation Fun, the Mickey and Minnie short in the little theater. I think it's fine. It's nothing special. It's mostly just a clip show. It's a good place for a nap. The theater is nice and air conditioned, and I wouldn't give that up for anything. Air conditioned theaters to sleep in are important. Yeah,
I've not seen this, but I think it's a pretty funny insult to the previous two attractions on this list that a nap is better than experiencing both of them.
Certainly. I think your day would be better spent napping for an hour than waiting for an hour in Slinky Dog Trash's line to be disappointed by that roller coaster. Ugh.
Oh, gee. I will say, though, to Vacation Fun, which again I've not seen, but I really have grown to really enjoy those Paul Rudish shorts on Disney Plus. I just watched the wonderful Spring of Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
And very unique, and I love how off the rails that those shorts get. So if Vacation Fun was anything like any of them, I'm sure it'd be on my list and it'd be in a favorable spot.
Yeah. In number 14, and this is I think where we catch up, I had Beauty and the Beast live on stage. There's so much to say about Beauty and the Beast live on stage. Maybe it was the performance I saw, but this is not good. It just feels cheap. and lazy and stuck in the 90s. Like, I get that people are like, oh, it's a big performance. Again, it's an outdoor theater that could have been indoors. The sets and the costumes feel like straight out of a high school theater production. This just is not what you pay money to go to a theme park to see. And especially, I think, when you have Finding Nemo the musical, or you used to have Finding Nemo the musical right over Animal Kingdom, to compare the two, it was just like not even a contest. It just made like Beauty and the Beast live on stage just always, I could never see myself taking the time out to watch that when Finding Nemo the musical and Festival of the Lion King exist and are so superior in every way.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen
it? I have not seen it, because I think the first time in forever that I went to, which I've also not seen it for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration. But when I went with you and our friends, we just did not do it. And then when I went with my cousin and my brother, we just did not do it. Or it may not have been open. That was during the weird, like, how is Disney responding to the pandemic kind of time. So they fired all the actors, and now the actors are coming back. So I just haven't had the opportunity. And if the opportunity was available, we decided to do something else, like wait in a line. So I've not seen it. I think I'd be interested in seeing it. I know the reputation that this show is an attraction, but that this has. Nevertheless, I am a sucker for a good theme park show. At Disney, Universal, Busch Gardens, Ka-chinga fam over here. I liked Ka-chinga.
Exploration, good stuff at Busch Gardens. Oh, Critter Castaways, and then opening night Critters. Both of those were great shows.
Yeah. So I do want to give it a chance one day. I just have not given it a chance to this day. How about that rhyming?
There you go.
Yeah.
So I did my number 14. Go ahead and give your number.
Gotcha. My number 14 is Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. I'm just never compelled to do it again. That's mainly why it's at the bottom of the list. I don't think it's bad. It's a cool animatronic, but I am not immersed. I'm not connected to the proceedings. I think Jonathan said earlier that one of the Vacation Fun was good for some air conditioning. That's what Lightning McQueen's pretty good for, but
it's steel benches.
Steel benches. I mean, it's very like you sit down, get off your feet for a little while, and then you get back out, kind of deal. That's really why it's at the bottom of my list. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just one of those things. I think it's worth doing once if you got time or you're bored or the lines are too long and you just want to do something really fast.
Yeah, it never has a line, which is really nice. It's good people eater.
Yeah.
My number 13, or I guess before I get to my number 13, I should talk about where Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, my thoughts. It places a little bit higher, at number 9 on my list. I think the writing saves it. Like, it's a show that with writing in lesser hands could have very much been not as good, but the pacing and how it ties into the Cars universe, and just the fact that they brought back Chick Hicks as the villain, it's very meme worthy, but it's fantastic execution of what could have very well been something they just threw together. And I don't think it feels like that from a production aspect. It feels very thought through, and like, especially for the amount of time that they're working with to tell that story, I think it lands many of the jokes that it presents, which is, for me, it's an accomplishment, and it's something that I honestly think, this is for me personally, this will probably be heresy, but I think Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy lands more jokes for me than Muppet Vision 3D, the actual show, not the Muppet Vision pre-show. But I digress. So
yeah, well, so what I realize is, like, this is Hollywood Studios' animatronic show, which there's plenty of those at Magic Kingdom, and I love those animatronic shows. Enchanted Tiki Room's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the Hall of Presents the last time I did it, like 8 years ago. We don't go to the Magic Kingdom to do the Hall of Presents, And Country Bears is fun, and there's a whole bunch of those like that. I I think even among those, Lightning McQueen's probably towards the bottom. Maybe it's because it is newer and so it doesn't have that classic nostalgia feel. Or Carousel of Progress. I forgot about Carousel of Progress. It's probably like the premiere animatronic show. But it is nice to see another Disney park following in that tradition. It just feels weird given the trends that are happening at the parks that this is what they decided to throw in. So it does feel more like I don't know, throw it in there, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it definitely doesn't fit thematically or anything like that.
Well, nothing fits thematically in that park. I will say that you mentioned that Chick Hicks is the villain. You're like, oh, that's so great they brought him back. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's great for the people who just saw the first Cars movie. Only the first Cars movie. Like me. I never saw Cars 2. I never saw Cars 3. So having that connection to the first Cars movie, like, oh, yeah, I remember Ka-chinga, Ka-chinga.
Yeah, even with Cruz Ramirez also being there from the third movie, it's like...
Yeah, well, she was in the trailer.
Yeah. So yeah, my number 13 was Fantasmic. Fantasmic is one of those shows that I think everybody agrees the Disneyland version is better, which I have not seen, so I cannot comment on said Disneyland version. But the times that I've seen Fantasmic at Hollywood Studios, I have not been impressed, and I've never felt the need to fight 9,000 people to get in or out of that amphitheater to see it ever again. I think the water screens were so poor at conveying what they were trying to convey. Like, there's aspects of it that are nice, but at the end of the day, for me, it's just not worth the hassle ever to give up extra rides on many of Hollywood Studios' fantastic rides. It's one of those where I see it once and then never again. I know they are refurbishing Fantasmic. It's been like under refurbishstruction for 4 years now, 5 years. We'll see how long it takes Disney to open it. But I just was not impressed with Fantasmic.
I've not seen it, but I'm calling heresy right now. Get out the Spanish Inquisition. You weren't expecting an Inquisition, were you?
No. I never expect the Spanish Inquisition.
That's correct. That was a really crappy segue into that joke, but nevertheless, apparently so is your opinion.
Oh, burn.
And again, I'm speaking from a complete place of ignorance, and just the legacy of the show seems to disagree with you.
I think Fantasmic has a similar legacy to Voyage of the Little Mermaid.
Yikes. Have you sat in the splash zone?
I have not sat in the splash zone.
Maybe that's what you need.
Maybe that is what I need. You're right.
You got what I need. A splash zone for me.
There's also the element of, like, you have to show up early for Fantasmic, and it's in such this huge detached amphitheater, and Disney just uses it to sell just everything. Like, they're like going around with popcorn like it's a movie theater show, and like buys popcorn, cotton candy. This is what I remember. Sell Mickey hats, glow at the show. Like, it's just like, we have you trapped here waiting for 30 minutes because you'd have to show up early. Now let's push more merchandise on you. Which, maybe that's a tough complaint to sell in a Disney park, but
it's a tough complaint to sell when other shows do it too, Jonathan. Have you seen the Shamu show? That whole thing, is like, it feels like such a premium experience because there's like 1,000, not 1,000. There's like 10 vendors, at the entrance, and you climb up, and they're still selling the popcorn and the Cracker Jacks and the Powerades.
This is true. You're not wrong.
I'm sure they're selling stuffed killer whales too.
What's your number 13?
My number 13, Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. And the reason there's a question mark is I have done it. I don't think I was too hot on it when I did do it, but it's been a long time. It's not been 1 week since you looked at me. It's just been a long, long time since I have seen this. I saw it as a child back when the Backlot Tour was a thing and a real thing, and the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playset adventure, that was there. They had the Streets of America. They had the Lights, Motors, Action stunt show with the vehicles. Like, that's how long it's been since I've done the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. So it might be great, and I was just grumpy that day. So that's why it's here so low. Just because, like, I did have an opinion. I did see it. It's been a long time since I've had that opinion. Maybe I need to get my opinion in check. Like the Fantasmic fans will do to Jonathan in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe. And then tweet at Jonathan at Wesley as you wish on Twitter, and let him know his Fantasmic opinion is wrong, I admit that my Indiana Jones opinion is probably wrong, so please don't come at me at AdamJ_film on Twitter.
Yeah, I had Indiana Jones a bit higher. I think for me it is number 8. It's right above Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. I enjoy it. It's not one that I ever feel the need to see again, but I can recognize the like, for a first timer seeing it, with the twist of one of the plants being in the group of people they picked from the audience, and how that sort of thing works, and just kind of the spectacle of it, the explosions and the moving set pieces. Like, there's something really good about that, and it's also very well paced. It's very personal. It gets you interaction with the crowd, and I just think it's one of those quintessential theme park stunt spectaculars. It's well done for what it is, and I think it's just enjoyable. It's good.
I do have a question for you. Indy or Born?
Ooh. They're trying to do two very different things. Bourne is just trying to tell a story, and Indy's trying to do the whole audience interaction while they set up set piece to set piece. I'd say Bourne's probably the better stunt show because it's non-stop stunts. Indy's probably the better overall experience.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think it's got a stronger payoff because you get invested in the people on stage, whereas Bourne, I feel like you're pretty detached from those characters for the most part.
Yeah, so maybe a better comparison would be Indy or horror makeup.
Oh, horror makeup. Not even a question. Not even a question.
I wasn't sure where you were going to go with that because you're talking about the whole holistic experience and like the emotional attachment. I wasn't sure, but interesting.
Yeah. My number 12 is For the First Time in Forever, a Frozen Sing-Along Celebrations. This is reviewing because we're kind of going out of order since we have different rankings. My 15 was Vacation Fun, 14 was Beauty and the Beast Live on Stage, 13 Fantasmic, 12 For the First Time Forever, a Frozen Sing-Along Celebration. It's adequate. It's more worth your time than Fantasmic, that's for sure. There is an element of, I think it's weird because Adam and I both go to church, and so we sing along with people on a decently regular basis. I think for the general going public, being able to sing any song with a large group of people outside of like a concert is a pretty unique experience. And the Frozen songs are catchy and fun, and the actors and the jokes they make about the film are fun. It's better than it should really have any right to be. And let's be real, like, just a place to sing along to classic Disney songs almost in their entirety in the middle of a story is a fun thing.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I never did it.
Yeah.
So I've realized in this episode I've said a lot of didn't do that. So it almost feels like, have you actually been to Hollywood Studios? I have. I've done all the rides, I think. Hopefully. I don't think there's a ride we've talked about that I haven't done. It's just the shows. The shows I haven't really done. I mean, I think that's just kind of... And I say I like theme park shows. Do you really like theme park shows? If you haven't done the shows at Hollywood Studios, which is a shows park, in quite a significant way. I just haven't done it. I'm sorry, folks. But yeah, you make a funny point there with Frozen and singing along and church. It almost feels like a worship service every time you're not at a concert and everyone's singing the same thing. Funny story, tangent time. Don't we love those? My music teacher in high school, so he was the choir teacher. He wasn't my teacher, but he was the choir teacher, and I worked with him in other things. But he and some choir students went to see La La Land in theaters because it had been out for a while. It was getting Oscar buzz, and so they figured, you know what? Field trip. We're going to go see La La Land. I think it wasn't a field trip. It was during beginning of January or something. I'm sure parent permission was involved and everything. Or they were alumnus, seniors, I'm not sure. Either way, this group of 5 with the teacher chaperone went to see La La Land in the theaters. What they did not know when they bought tickets for La La Land, it was the La La Land sing-along.
Oh,
there were 10 people in this theater, 9 of which did not know the songs. And so the 1 or 2 other people who were in the theater knew the songs.
No.
They didn't sing, so they all just sat in silence watching this movie as a bouncy ball went over the words to La La Land. So, City of Stars, bounce are you shining just for me. And so that was interesting. But it does keep in the Disney tradition, this Frozen show, of sing-alongs. They had the Frozen sing-along in theaters, and now on Disney Plus, exclusive, Jonathan. Exclusive! You can watch the Encanto sing-along.
Oh.
It's different than the Encanto movie because it's a separate entry, like Coco in Espanol. You can just go to Coco. You can just flip it over to the Spanish, or you can watch Coco in Espanol.
I was under the impression they reanimated it. Like the lips for the Spanish version, but that might be.
Oh,
incorrect.
maybe they did, but I don't think Encanto sing along has an excuse.
No, for sure. So the stars have aligned for number 11. Okay, you haven't done number 12 on your list. Do number 12 on your list first.
Star Wars Launch Bay. I like a museum as well. I like a show. I like a ride. I like a museum, like Indiana Jones, right? But this isn't Indiana Jones. We talked about that. I don't remember it. But I do remember the Star Wars Launch Bay. Right now, it's just kind of... it's not as lively as it once was. There's no meet and greets. There's no film that's being shown. At least last I was there, when we all had to wear the masks indoors and stuff. And they were really limiting, like, what actors and characters could do. But it's still pretty fun to see, like, helmets from the movies and the vehicles from the movies. And this giant mural that really ties together the Skywalker saga and Solo and Rebels and Clone Wars and Rogue One. Mando, I'm sure, is on there or will be on there if it's not yet. I have the pictures on my phone, but I haven't looked at see if Mando was on there. But I'm sure it'll be on there eventually. But it's really cool to see as a Star Wars fan. We're like, yes, it is all tied together. Oh my gosh, that's what Hera and Kanan and all the rest of those characters. This is what they would look like in live action almost. Like, this is how they'd look among these other characters. Not that live action is the definitive way to portray something, because those animated shows on Star Wars are pretty great, by and large. It's but it's a cool experience for a Star Wars fan. It's a museum experience, and it is really out there in the animation courtyard, where right now, I think the only thing that's functioning on a daily basis, in a meaningful way, is the Disney Junior Live on Stage. Or whatever it's called now, the play and dance.
Yeah.
Because Voyage of the Little Mermaid's not, operating. And Star Wars Launch Bay is just kind of like a self-guided tour through artifacts instead of, what it was when it opened. So, yeah, that's my number 12. It's fun to walk around. Worth doing, I guess, if you're a Star Wars fan.
I have been to it. I did not put it on my list. I don't know if I considered it or Walt Disney Presents attractions. And I also have not seen the Walt Disney Presents film, so I don't think I'm equipped to fully judge that. But, yeah, Star Wars Launch Bay is, it had a purpose, which was to make studios the home of Star Wars until Galaxy's Edge was here. And that purpose has been served, and I just think it needs to go. It's I mean, the mural, definitely try and preserve the mural somewhere.
The concept art,
like that whole aspect is cool, but I think what they need to do is but it's like, you do need the BB-8 and the Darth Vader meet and greets, because you can't have those in Galaxy's Edge. But, like, why not move them closer to Star Tours? Like,
because you got the Jedi show and you got the Tatooine Traders. So would you take out Indy? Would you take out Grand Avenue and the Muppets?
I think...
Do you take out the bathrooms? Please don't.
No. I think, regardless of my feelings for Muppet Vision, I think, realistically, it would just make sense to take out Courtyard and put the Star Wars Museum there and make that whole part of the park Star Wars, so the area outside Galaxy's Edge is about the past. It's about the prequels, the originals, and you can see the concept art, you can see the shows, the behind the scenes, that whole studio aspect of it. And then once you're in Galaxy's Edge, you're like truly in Star Wars. So that's what I think. That's the best way to ultimately do it, but Disney's not going to listen to that. It works fine now. So
yeah, but what I would say is that Animation Courtyard is definitely it's not an eyesore because you don't really pass it. I mean, you just pass it, and if they want that to be a thriving part of the park that people don't just walk past, it does need a facelift or it needs things to be open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 11, like I was saying before, the stars aligned. We both put Alien Swirling Saucers as
My
number
favorite
11.
acronym.
So keep in mind, I think Alien Swirling Saucers is better than Phantasmic and Slinky Dog Dash. This was, kind of a hot take, but I'm sorry, Alien Swirling Saucers is fun. It's a legit good time. And there's usually not too long of a wait for it either, which is rare at any Hollywood Studios attraction.
It's a weird one for me because waiting for it for the first time, I'm thinking this is going to be like a Teacups-esque experience. It's really not. You don't spin, really. You were slung about, and I don't know how to describe that sensation and that experience. So, the reason it's the lowest rated ride on my list, because that's where it is, I would say the reason why is just, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's my ignorance that causes it to be so low. Although the name acronym would probably put it higher, but there is a ride associated with it. And so that's where it is. I will say I did have fun the last time I went on it. My cousin, my brother, and I went on it. My brother had his own car, and my cousin and I shared one. And we had this challenge when we rode it, not to hit the sides, like slide against the sides of the vehicle without holding on to anything. So our hands were up in the air, and we're sliding about. We all failed, and we all cackled like fools.
Yeah, good ride. Not much more to say. Number 10 for you
is Walt Disney Presents. Again, I like a museum. It actually was higher on the list when I experienced it as a child, and going through it again, it's changed. It's not the one man's dream, all about Walt thing. Right now, it's kind of I don't want to say a bare bones thing, but it's about the history of Disney World, and it's a very abbreviated history of Disney parks, actually. There's the meet and greets for whatever's the feature of the day. I think when I was there, it was supposed to be Mike and Sully, but Mike and Sully were not meeting and or greeting. But, I mean, it was a cool space that they had set up in there, and seeing the dioramas of the attractions is cool. I don't know if they were doing the film the last time we went. We kind of just stopped in there for a rain break, because it was torrential downpour, so quick, enter the museum. And I'm like, yay, we made it into the museum, guys. But at the same time, it's like, once you've seen that, you've seen it. And if Disney Plus is doing a better job of, like, showing the history, like, they have the Adventure Through the Walt Disney Archives short documentary on there right now. You're kind of getting some of the same material. So I think it's grown less essential, but I think it's still great to have there because the park is about the movies. It's about Hollywood. It's about this entertainment industry. And why not have that tribute to the entertainment industry icon that was the reason this park resort exists in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, you can't really have it at Magic Kingdom. I mean, I guess you could have it at the Walt Disney Theater. I think that's what is it called, the Walt Disney the Main Street Theater. You can have it at the Main Street Theater, but you got Magician Mickey, so you can put it in the barbershop, but no, you won't. You can put it wherever Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom was doing its thing, but I think all in all, it fits here, and it's a nice tribute to have. Obviously, could put anything in here that they wanted, because there's enough space to put something like Launch Bay there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously they have to abbreviate some of it, but you could still kind of keep the spirit of that. But I'm glad it's there. I'm glad it's there.
Yeah.
Even more than it just being an escape from the rain.
Yeah. My number 10 was Muppet Vision 3D. A lot of people praise this as the greatest show in all of Disney World, the best thing the Muppets have ever done, and I don't fully understand that. I think it's funny, it's fine. I think it works better as a Muppet movie or short than it does as a theme park attraction. I think there's an aspect of it that doesn't really work, in the idea that, like, we're sitting down for a show, and then, like, the first 15 minutes of it is like a tour of Muppet Studios where things go wrong, and the production value is just very, we're walking around offices and let's take a look behind this door. Like, It's very hard to describe what I don't like about Muppet Vision. Like it's still got some good jokes. It's got some iconic things. I love the Statler and Waldorf animatronics up in the seats, and I love the integration of animatronics and live people in costumes. But then you have just a lot of detractors, like the weird production value of the actual main show just being so, let's move from scene to scene in a weird random format. And also you think about like the pacing of PhilharMagic, and that's so perfect. Muppet Vision feels kind of stilted in how it's paced, but those are all quibbles. It was the last thing Jim Henson worked on. It does capture the spirit of the Muppets well. Oh, Waldo, obviously. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention the biggest detractor, Waldo, being so annoying. But yeah, I think it's one of those I have mixed feelings on, and that's why it's pretty close to the middle of my list.
I do disagree with some of the things there. I'll go into later more in detail of my thoughts on it, because it is higher than yours.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying about we're just going room to room, but it's not just room to room. It's gag to gag with that kind of manic tone, and you talk about the pacing, and it is weird. It took me a while to get used to it, but I think it's pretty true to a variety show, which is what the Muppets are. I don't know if it's true to the Muppet Show, because I haven't seen enough episodes of that to really say. I know it's on Disney Plus. I just haven't sat down and watched it yet, fam. But yeah, I definitely like it more. But I mean, just to talk about your critiques, I think the things you don't like. I think you go into expecting a PhilharMagic, or a straight narrative like maybe Shrek.
Yeah.
Just thinking of like what other 3D shows have existed.
I really do think just the production design of like the Muppet offices and the behind the scenes feels so bland. I feel like it's what people complain about with the Avengers is like, why are the Avengers in this big boring building that has no personality? It's like the setting of the film doesn't lend itself to the Muppets particularly well.
Oh, I feel like I disagree on that. I mean, obviously you're a bigger fan of Muppets Most Wanted and the James Bobin Muppets, but than I am. Muppets Most Wanted, I think, is a religious experience for you. It was not for me. I don't know, because their whole shtick in the show, from what I did see, I've seen part of the show, was like they're in this rundown theater and like they cannot function they're dysfunctional as a group.
Yeah.
And so, for me, that comes out in the things that you're saying don't work for the Muppets.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think both sides are valid. I understand why people love it. It's just got enough detractors for me that if Disney decided to bulldoze it tomorrow, I don't think I would shed any tears.
Oh, don't worry. Kermit's done that already. Spoiler alert for the ending of the attraction.
Number 9 and 8 for me are ones that we've already covered. Number 9 is Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, and number 8 is the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. So we don't really need to talk about those because we've already discussed those. What are your number 9 and 8?
My number 9 is Slinky Dog Dash. It has enough of a kick to be thrilling, I think. It is a kid coaster, but it's a kid coaster with some oomph. I think that's what he says. Slinky got oomph.
Slinky got oomph.
That's what my cousin said. Oomph. Maybe. Yeah, you can fact check us, but I listened to episode 11 or something. Just try to get you to listen to the whole show. I enjoy it. Like, I do not hate it. If I see a 90-minute wait for it, I'm not going to wait for it probably when there's so much else to do. Unless everything's a 90-minute. I don't know. But as an experience, if I'm just talking about the ride, and the line's not offensive to me, like, the ride itself is a fun ride. The reason the line is so long is because it is so popular, because it is, attractive to adults, it's attractive to kids, it's attractive to teenagers who just want to, like, have a relaxing ride and, scream on the launches.
Yeah.
Which have a little bit of a kick to them. They're not like Universal's Mummy or the Hulk or Velocicoaster or any of their other launchers, but I think it's a fun time. You get the sing-along at the end with Wheezy.
Yeah. Whom
I relate to. Because I, too, have wheezed in the past when I laugh. That's my laugh. It used to be, anyway. It's just a fun time with family and friends. And as I mentioned before, I cannot fathom how you have such darkness in your heart towards this ride.
it is the definition of actively mediocre, and I would much prefer an attraction that is just mediocre than an attraction that has the potential to be great but chooses to be mediocre.
Okay, but Jonathan, I was never going to do those really intensely close zigzags we saw in the concept video.
I don't need to defend my position.
There was no curves.
It's an opinion. It's an opinion. It's all good. And then what's your number 8?
Toy Story Mania.
Oh,
yeah, that's my number 8.
surprisingly low.
Yeah, I do like it. I do quite like it. It's very rewritable. It is a lot of fun. I think that the 3D effects or the 4D effects, I'm not exactly sure how we define 4D these days, but the water and the air, I think they're really well integrated to make it an immersive experience that you're having in these carnival games. I think I would like it more if I took the time out of my day to ride it like 4 or 5, 6 times. And it's not like the line is prohibitive for that. It's just, or look around and say, well, I mean, there's Mickey and Minnie's, there's a Star Wars land, there's Star Wars stores, there's Slinky Dog. Like, there's so much to explore here. I want to try to do it all. And, are we actually real Hollywood Studios fans if we're here and we're not going to do the Tower of Terror?
Yeah.
So, just, that's one's mainly out of essentials. Because I think for it to be higher for me, I'd have to write it multiple times a day. Same way I do like Men in Black. Like Men in Black, I never do just once and done and leave. That is a thing I'm doing maybe like 3 times a trip.
Yeah.
So I can like compare my height scores and be in a competition with someone else. This is a competition one time, when you wear out your hand because of the motions that you're doing to get your points and whatnot. But it is a fun ride. It is entertaining. I almost want to get the Wii game.
Yeah. Practice.
Yeah.
Practice up.
Yeah.
Number 7 for me is Star Wars The Adventures Continue. This is a great attraction. Very underrated. The remastering of it in 2011 was honestly fantastic, to be completely honest. It's one of those where it does just a really good job blending the old and new. The humor's on point. The concept is great. The C-3PO animatronic and the interaction with the screen characters. It's one of the few rides where the 3D creates a fully immersive experience just because there's such a limited perspective on where you can view it from, which just makes it really a powerful viewing window. And then you have, of course, the holograms. And the fact that they've kept it updated, the queue is hilarious. It really plays into the humorous side of Star Wars. And it's just pure fun. The randomization, you never know what you're going to get. There's just so much work put into an attraction that it didn't really need all the work, but it's probably the most re-rideable thing here.
Yeah. And
it's one of the funniest attractions here, and it perfectly captures that spirit of early 2000s Star Wars in a way no other things can. And I could honestly ride Star Tours all day. So
yeah, I
am down for Star Tours The Adventures Continue at number 7.
Why is that number 7 and not higher for you?
I think
given all the strengths that you mentioned,
the motion simulation brings it down. As far as a motion simulator, it's not nearly as strong as any number of motion simulators that I can think of, and that just comes down to the fact that the design was from the 80s. It was one of the first motion simulators. Like, as much as there's only so much room to update what's possible with it, and that's not a huge detractor because the story is so good. But like when I think about attraction genres and when I think of motion simulator, Star Wars never sticks out to me as the best simulator, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. My number 7 is Muppet Vision 3D. That is, fam, 3Ds in the vision of Muppets. This one took a while to get where it is now, but doing it multiple times, kind of having inside jokes with other fans of the show, I've really grown to quite love this. And one of my first complaints was I didn't think the 3D was very good. And I know some people still have that complaint, and I think it's because it's a 1989 film in 3D, and it's not as clean or HD, I think, as we're used to these days. Like, it's not the super crisp 3D you get on Star Tours.
Yeah.
But I love the tone, I love the vibe of this show, where things are going wrong, things are going crazy. You got Waldo, the spirit of 3D, who's terrible, but yet I feel like you could not have this show without him.
I gave my thoughts.
He is my least favorite Muppet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's almost like you're meant to hate him. He's not supposed to be this joyous thing.
Like Figment.
Sure. And the current iteration, yeah. Waldo Figment crossover ride when?
Oh, heavens no. The discourse would be unbearable.
But I like the jokes. I like everything. I do like how they are. It starts out, as you're saying, like as a show, as just a movie. But actually, what it is you're being carted along on this studio tour, this office tour, and seeing all these things, and like the characters are very aware that it's 3D, kind of the way Jimmy Fallon is on Race Through New York. But like even more so, because it's not just they play camera tricks and stuff. Like they curve their heads over to say hello to Statler and Waldorf. So like there's this 40-foot head of Kermit the Frog and Fozzie Bear, looking at the super tiny animatronic of Statler and Waldorf, and they still feel small because of Statler and Waldorf like making fun of them and stuff. And like the penguins are always like interacting, and then there's the cannon, and like it's not just 3D on the screen and like how they play with those effects, but like Smoochums, what's that character's name?
Oh, I don't know. I don't.
Smuckers.
We'll go Smuckers.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Muppets fans. Forgive me, for I know not what I do. So Smoochums, Snookers comes out in the audience. Like that's the live actor Jonathan was talking about, and that's pretty fun. That's the third dimension. The Swedish Chef.
Yeah.
You know, there's like the entire theater like explodes with the Muppets. And then, you know, at the end, like, the back of house breaks. And they used to have that joke. Now they don't, because they made it look nicer, you know, when you leave the show.
Yeah.
But all around, like, it is a it is Hollywood Studios' cult classic attraction.
Yeah.
And I think that's its value. I think it would all come together. Have I eaten at Pizza Rizzo? But I've only gotten water from Rat Pizza. Not the pizza. Did not do that mobile order.
Alright, my number 6 is Toy Story Mania. We already talked about it a little bit. I really like Toy Story Mania. I think I've had that re-rideable experience with it more than Adam has, just because I had the annual pass, and it's just really fun, really re-rideable. It's got just enough force to, like, when it's going around those curves to, like, give it that little bit of whip, and the amount of Easter eggs and ways to improve your score and the responsiveness of the controls, it really outdoes any other shooter dark ride in like control responsiveness and like how interacting with the media works. And it's just a fun vibe. The station, the queue, the whole thing is excellent. That's one of those where it's like anytime you ask, I'd be down to do Toy Story Mania no matter what mood I'm in.
Yeah, you are right. Like, going through and you are, like, under Andy's bed, and there's, like, these giant board games that are basically imprinted in the wall. It reminds me of, I'm sure you saw this coming, of my favorite video game, Kingdom Hearts. When you go into Wonderland, like, you can grow and you can shrink, but when you shrink, some of the props are, like, now in the walls. Like, part of the wallpaper, almost. And you can kind of interact with that. That's kind of like the same vibe I get going on Toy Story Mania. And at least in the queue area. You kind of lose that in the ride portion. Because it's got to be more ridey. But the rest of it, yeah. I did mention that, but you're completely right.
Yeah. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith.
That so happens to be my number 5, so let's talk about it.
Yeah,
so Rock and Roller Coaster is one of those attractions that just is fun encapsulated. Like, this is one of those premises that is so ridiculous, so outlandish, so clearly just about we want a roller coaster, and it just leans into that from every angle. And for me, I think the thing that puts this so high to me is that there's something about the vibe of the Rock and Roller Coaster area and the queue and the pre-show and the loading that's really unlike anything else. It's almost like it manages to capture that electricity of a studio and the excitement of going to a concert and like the rush. And it shouldn't work, but going into the recording studio and then exiting from the recording studio out into the alleyway, I think is one of Disney's coolest thematic transitions. And just the boarding the super stretch and getting the music, and like the actual roller coaster part isn't anything too special, but the graphics are fun and it's just the right length so that it doesn't bang your head. And I don't know, man, it's just one of those that's just a blast. I don't really know how else to describe it. It just works. It knows what it is and it leans into that, and in doing so works really well.
Yeah. This is one I'd probably expect to be higher for me, and yet it is not.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I haven't learned the roller coaster yet. I've only done it twice.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like an Indiana Jones situation. But, like, each time I do it, I have more and more fun with it. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is a fun coaster. This is a great coaster. It's just like, I can't say that it's better than some of the attractions in my 1 through 5 because I haven't done it all that much. And then when I have gone to rewrite it, it was down for the day.
Yeah,
which it has a lot of trouble with. But that's neither here nor there. Like, a lot of attractions have those issues.
This is true. If reliability was a factor in our rankings, they might be different.
Yeah. But it is fun. I do like hearing Aerosmith music. I think it's kind of wild, the restraint system. And by that, what I mean is Disney has this trend with their rides where they're built for your convenience. By that I mean you don't have lockers. You just put things in a pouch. You don't, restraints are only there if necessary.
Right, yeah.
Like Splash Mountain, I don't think it has seatbelts.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, with that drop, and the little handlebars there are kind of there for your convenience.
Yeah.
Space Mountain, my dad wrote it for the back in the Magic Kingdom in like the 80s or something like that. They didn't have the lap bars.
Yeah.
The front person had a belt, and they tobogganed it.
Yeah.
Which is why he's terrified of roller coasters now. And Rock and Roller Coaster is kind of the same way. You can literally bring a droid from the Droid Depot on this ride, and it will not fall down. And it goes upside down like 3 times. The engineering is witchcraft. I think they actually have a magic person, but not like, normal magic, like magic that people do, but like fantasy magic. You got like a warlock or something there with a cauldron being like, yes, it shall stay. And like the over the shoulder restraints are like, they don't have like a belt, and they I think that you could probably do the ride without actually having that, just with the way they control gravity and stuff. Because it's hard to even take a grip on that because they're so tight together with you and the person next to you. It is a wonder of Imagineering in a very technical sense.
Yeah. And it's not a half decent, or it's not a half bad roller coaster either. I think it's not winning any coaster awards, but it does exactly what it needs to, and it has fun with it. So
yeah, it's not rough. It's very smooth.
No, it is very smooth. So
Rock and Roller Coaster was your number 5. It was my number 6. Oh, then I guess I should be the next one to go, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, right. No, we're going to do the 5 through 4. Or 5 through 2. So you should keep on going.
All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my 5 through 2. And I will summarize. I feel like we've talked enough about all of these and why they're great, so we don't need to dive into them too much. They're kind of classics. Number 5 for me is Rock and Roller Coaster. Number 4 is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Number 3 is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. And number 2 is Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. And I put Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at number 4 because I think it's a great example of technology. It's got that catchy song, that rewritability. Is it the best use of trackless ride tech we've seen? No, but it's a step in the right direction. And it's just one of those that has a fun concept executed well. Number 3 is Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. It's the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. You know what makes it good. You know what makes it great. It's thrilling. It's got that environment. It's got that beautiful pacing. It's got that classic pre-show, the theming, the ambiance of the whole thing. Fantastic attraction, number 3. Number 2 is probably my hot take. This is Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. This is one where I just love the idea of a self-controlled motion simulator, and I love how chaotic it is, and I love that if you learn the ride, you can actually get points. I feel like that's something a lot of people don't talk about, is like actually trying to get higher point scores by working together, which makes it difficult to do on your own. You need kind of like a group of people. But I know when I used to go to Disney a lot, just by myself, it was so fun to teach people about how the ride would work before we'd get on, and then we'd actually try and get a good score versus the actual attractions design, which does a poor job of preparing you for the experience. So, maybe that should bring it down lower. But for me, there's few things more rewarding than like riding it and helping people to succeed. And that's such a unique experience, and it's nothing that I've ever gotten at any other theme park attraction. And also, of course, the Hondo animatronic is fantastic. The queue has got the fun story recordings, and it's a really strong package. Oh, the capacity too, I think, is another big thing. Like, the line is always moving so fast because it can handle so many people. It's such a brilliant design. But I just love Falcon Smuggler's Run. I made a whole video about it. So
it's true. You should watch it. In fact, if you click the card right above, if you're on YouTube, if you're on a podcast app, you'll need to get out of your podcast app, go to YouTube, and watch this video.
Yeah, search Theme Park Workshop Smuggler's Run. We have a whole video about why it's underrated.
That is true. I'm actually surprised that this underrated ride is not higher on your list. It's your number 2, and I'm surprised it's not your number 1. I know what your number 1 is. I think a lot of people figured out what your number 1 is. Yes. I'm surprised that Millennium Falcon is not higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, my 5 through 2 is this. Okay, the comments are going to come for me. You have permission to come for me. I allow you to come for me, as mentioned before, at AdamJ_film on Twitter, or in our comments space. Please don't dislike the video. We're just being honest. That should be liked, right? I'm not trying to fish for views here, but hit the bell. My number 5 is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Why? Because I'm a chicken. Number 4 is Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Enough said. Number 3, oh dear God, is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. And moving on, number 2 is Star Tours. The Adventures Continue.
So yeah, I definitely have less hot takes in my top 5. Would you care to explain, other than Twilight Zone being just because you don't like that little tummy feeling?
So yeah, well, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, it is a great ride. It really excels at making me feel nervous.
Yeah.
Just like with the weird the way the air works in the drop tower, in the drop chamber, whatever they call it. That makes you know stuff's about to get real.
Yeah.
And the way it moves about is really cool, and the way the effects are, it's pretty neat. But it does kind of take me a while to get used to it, so it's really an unpleasant experience the first 2 or 3 times that I ride it in a close period of time. Is that a knack against the attraction? No, I don't think so. And even there's some things with the timing I don't love. There's just an awkward bit of silence where Rod Serling's not talking, the ride's not moving, and the music has gone out. And I'm like, okay, something's off with the pacing, or maybe it's supposed to be that way to put you on edge. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 5. Again, because I'm a chicken. Number 4, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. It is extremely rewritable. It's really well done. I don't know if it's as immersive and the fact of it's like you're sitting in the Falcon, because it doesn't exactly look like it does in the movie, but you can't have a separate compartment for your shooter.
Yeah.
That would just not work out, probably.
Yeah.
But, it is a huge thrill to pull the lever, Kronk. And
the lever, Kronk.
the engineering position is very underrated because you just get to enjoy and hit buttons. Like
Exactly.
I feel like that's a subtle thrill in itself. And then when you go home after writing it for the 8th time with Jonathan Edward, you can still feel it moving because the 2-year-olds don't know how to pilot. Number 3, as I said before, is Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance. It is probably the best thing Disney has built. That said, and I would also say to people, like, yeah, you should go to Hollywood Studios because of Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance. It might just be a thing I do once and once only. It's one of those where, like, is it the best? Yeah, but is it my best? And I don't know if it is. I don't think it is. Because if I'm thinking about Hollywood Studios and what I would want to go there for, I've done Rise of the Resistance. I've done it several times, I think. Well, 3, 4, maybe 5 times.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing each time. I mean, these got the 2 different tracks. I can watch it on YouTube, and it's not the same, like, awe-inspiring experience or anything, but, like, I don't know. And I don't even want to say I feel like I've experienced everything this has to offer, and I feel like that's where it sounded like I was going, but that's not necessarily true. It's just like, I'm not going to go there and do this all day. I can now, because they've opened with standby, but, like, I don't know if I'm going to wait just to do this ride.
Yeah.
When I think about going to Hollywood Studios and having a blast, I think of something like my number 2, Star Tours: The Adventures Continue, where I do it over and over and over, and I have a blast. I feel like we could do a special episode, like a vlog, where for 12 hours in our day, we just do Star Tours and see how long it takes for us to get tired of it. But,
I think it would take a while.
yeah, because we did it, like, 10 times in a night?
Yeah, I think we did, yeah.
We were trying to get that Boba Fett ending, and we kept on failing. Did we ever get it?
I know. I did at some point. I don't know if you've gotten it.
I don't think so. But that one, yeah, is the motion simulating, like, as intense as, like, a Universal ride? No, not at all. That's actually one of the things I disliked about it the first time I rode it as a child. But, when I was a child, I thought as a child, and now as a man, I think like a man, and Star Tours: The Adventures Continue is spectacular. And this isn't even, like, a whole, like, Star Wars discourse thing for me, because it's like, oh, well, Rise of the Resistance, it might be cool, but it doesn't have Luke Skywalker. It doesn't have Yoda. It's based on the sequels. Oh, you just hate the sequels. I like the sequels. I really do like the sequels a lot. Force Awakens is great. Last Jedi is great. Rise of Skywalker, as I said before, has grown on me. I love Solo, and Rogue One's pretty good, too. Like,
yeah.
I do like what Disney is doing with Star Wars. So it's nothing about that.
Yeah.
It's just Star Tours. It's what I think about when I think about going back to studios. Star Tours is the most rewritable for me. Rise of the Resistance is a work of art. They should put it in the Louvre when they decide to dismantle it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what the Louvre's for, but maybe they should make an exception. I like this. I like C-3PO more than I like the Kylo animatronic.
That's fair. I give you that.
I like the fan service of Star Tours. Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance is like a perfect theme park story, as Greg from the theme park. The Q-Line Lectures. I'm sorry, Greg. Greg Graberg from the Q-Line Lectures has talked about on this channel previously. It's a perfect theme park story. It's exactly the kind of thrill you'd want as a fan of theme parks, as a fan of Star Wars. But Star Tours: The Adventures Continue is exactly what you'd expect as a Star Wars fan to get on a theme park ride. And it has like 50 different ways for you to experience that. And the 3D integration is pretty nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't deny. I can see why Star Tours is number 2 for you. It's not like it's a poorly produced attraction.
It might be number 2 opinion, but it is my number 2 on the list nevertheless.
All right, and so my number 1 is Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance.
Hey, we just talked about this.
Yeah, we have talked about it. I think it is a stellar attraction. It just top to bottom, it is fantastic. I feel like people smarter than me have said why it's great, but it just does everything, and it does everything really well.
Yeah, like Greg from the Q-Line
Lectures. And I don't think it's a particularly hot take, but it's one that's true for me. It might not be the most re-rideable for me, especially with the long wait, but I think it's the most complete theme park experience, and
that's true.
It's just top to bottom great.
Yeah. Maybe I get a little anxiety from the whole, like, LARPing aspect of it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Could be.
Maybe. But yeah, you're right. Like the queue is fantastic, super immersive. It's even cooler when you read the books associated with it. I mean, we did a whole thing on that. We did a series. Yeah. Is there anything else you had to say about Rise of the Resistance?
No.
Your number one attraction, your favorite attraction. This is your all-time opinion, Jonathan. Like, get it out. If you have more to get out.
I feel like there's so little to say that other people haven't already said. Rise of the Resistance it's great. It's got the sets, it's got the scale, it's got that screen integration, it's got the plot twist, it's got the animatronics, it's got the physical
It's got death.
It's got death, exactly. It's no expense was spared. I mean, even the exiting outdoors, such a cool effect for a ride to start indoors and to end outdoors. Like, they just accounted, every detail was accounted for. There's a nighttime version of the crash to Earth.
Yeah.
There's the shadows and the
Wait, not a crash to Earth. It's a crash to Batu.
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 Yeah, I feel like I've talked enough about it before.
That's fair. I also wonder now, like, I feel like I can't put it at my number one today, but when I go to Hollywood Studios in July, like, am I going to be like, you stupid person, you put Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway as your number one and not Star Wars Rise of the Resistance? But, I mean, right now, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, there's some qualms with the ride, sure, like some of the sightline things. If you're in the back, not the sightlines aren't the issue. If you're the last car, you're gonna miss some scenes. If you're in certain cars, you're gonna like come in at different points and miss some gags and miss some setups and whatnot. But as a whole, like when we're talking about going to Star Wars Land and Hollywood Studios in July for my brother's birthday, I'm thinking like, yeah, we get to do Mickey and Minnie's, man. And it's not even like the whole like it's the shiny new thing either. Like it is. I think it might be the identity of the park in a way, like
Disney corporate synergy.
Sure. It's in the Grauman Chinese Theater. It is about movies, and you literally go into a movie, and Mickey Mouse is at the heart of it. And Mickey Mouse finally has a ride, and it's a great ride. It's based on these great shorts that you can watch on Disney Plus. And all that. The queue is really cool. Seeing the pre-show with the is it Perfect Picnic?
Yeah, Perfect Picnic.
Perfect Picnic is fun, and then the screen opens up and you walk through it and you walk back out of it, literally.
Yeah.
At the end there, like all around, it's just a transportative experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't done many trackless rides in my day. Let's see, there's Antarctica, which was Antarctica. Not bad, but it had a lot more holes than this.
Yes.
And then Kong, which didn't need it, and Fast and Furious, which needed it even less. Yeah. So like, among the and Rise of the Resistance, I guess that's probably the height of trackless integration.
Yeah.
Because of how many different things it does. But I don't know, man. There's just something about Runaway Railway that really, really gets me. Not like in an emotional way, but like it's super fun. Daisy Duck going absolutely bat crap crazy as you exit her dance studio. She's like, "It's time to go!" Like she goes insane, man. And like you just catch these little things, and like it's seeing all the details on the screens, and the screens are done in a way that's pretty awesome, and all that. Like, it is a great Disney experience. It's a thing everyone. It's a thing everyone can do.
That's true. Everyone can experience it together.
I think it has movement that is. It's not intense per se, but it's fluid. It's nice and fluid, and it doesn't go down. You didn't need a virtual queue for this. Yeah. It's just all around. It's the thing I'm most excited to do whenever I go to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Especially if I've been recently.
And that makes it special.
Yeah.
All right, that concludes our episode on ranking Hollywood Studios. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Theme Park Workshop, the podcast.
Yes, thank you. This show has been edited and produced by me, Adam Johnson. This show has also been co-created and co-hosted by Jonathan Edward. Thank you so much to our patrons, AJ Dana and Landon Kanoki. You can follow Jonathan at Wesley As You Wish on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamJ_film. And you can follow the show on YouTube. Just look up Theme Park Workshop. You can follow us on Twitter at WorkshopTP. And if you like the Instagram, like we kind of like to, that's at Theme Park Workshop. I think that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Whoa, let's switch it up.